So you're experiencing anxiety symptoms, right? You're maybe feeling dizziness, nausea. You may be feeling these feelings of unreality, these irrational, these what if thoughts. And these feelings are pretty unusual. This is something you haven't really experienced. So you're going to do something what everybody does. Anybody naturally would do, which is go to the internet, trying to figure out what's going on. Have other people struggle with this? How do you get out of this? But what ends up happening is that you end up going on the internet and you find a lot of people that have been struggling much like you, but you don't really get answers. You don't really know why, what's going on. You start wondering, is recovery even possible? Really what I want to talk about in this video is why there's not that many success stories when it comes to anxiety, panic attacks, derealization, or depersonalization on the internet, and how somebody who just wants to find answers may look at the internet, find that there's no real success stories, and somehow be convinced that this is something they have to deal with forever. I really want to talk about it from the perspective of someone who has recovered, who has come out of this, while you may not be seeing anxiety success stories. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Shaan, and I struggled with anxiety, panic attacks, derealization, depersonalization years ago. Managed to fully overcome it, and now I get the great fortune of helping others. So if you're really trying to figure all this out, you don't really know what to do, if you're on forums all the time, this is a great video for you. You're going to learn a lot. Pay attention. So you go to the doctor and you get everything ruled out. You get a clean bill of health. They just say it's anxiety, and you go leaving the doctor, but you're still feeling these symptoms, and these symptoms are really bizarre. They're really unusual, something you haven't really ever experienced before, or at least not in the same intensity. And so what happens is that you just get kind of curious. You're trying to figure out, have other people struggled with this? How do they get out of this? So you start going to forums, you start going to Facebook groups, you start going to different forums on different platforms, trying to figure out what's going on. Now, what's ironic is you find a lot of people who are struggling much like you, but you don't really find anyone who's fully come out of it. Yeah, sure, some people may be doing a little bit better, some people may not be doing as well, but you see people on the internet and they're experiencing the same thing, and they don't know how to get out of it. And what happens is, to make matters worse, is that you find people who may have been struggling with it longer than you have. And that really scares you, because this is something you want to get out, you want to get rid of. Anxiety is not something anybody happily goes through. It's very debilitating, it's very painful, there's a lot of suffering. So what happens is it naturally scares you, and you wonder, you're like, why aren't there success stories? If you had recovered, you'd probably be on top of a mountain right now screaming the answer, and you can't see that. Maybe that's just because recovery isn't possible. Well, that's actually kind of a skewed perspective. And as somebody who has struggled with it, who has fully come out of it, I have noticed that most people don't talk about it. And the reason why, a lot of people who struggle with anxiety end up not really going back on these forums, is the fact that they're just busy living life. Like, imagine you have two people, one person struggling with anxiety and has been struggling with anxiety. They're the ones that aren't really going to be going out. They're not going to be having fun. They're not going to be enjoying life. They're going to be trying to figure this out. Why is this happening? How do I stop this? How do I make this go away? You're going to see their online presence a lot more. Now, somebody who had been struggling, who may have been on these forums temporarily, but got better. They got the right info. They got the right knowledge. They got the right guidance, and they were fully out of it. They're not going to be back on these forums. They're going to be busy living life. They're going to be out here in the real world enjoying themselves, not on the forums. Now, you, on the other hand, who have been struggling with it, you're going to be seeing the first guy, the individual who's still struggling with it. So what happens is that it's very easy to make that assumption that recovery is impossible, because look at this individual. This individual's been suffering longer than I have, and he hasn't found answers. The people that have recovered, you don't know anything about. And I'll also say, even the people that quote unquote have recovered, a lot of times they say, okay, well, I recovered and I did this, this, and this, and you find out that they're trying to sell some sort of product. They're trying to sell some CBD oil or some anxiety toolkit or some different type of supplement and stuff, and you're just like, no, you're just trying to sell me a product. I want to get out of this. I want to get out of this fully. So that's the first thing. That's one of the major reasons why you don't see anxiety success stories that often, because they're just out living life. Now, the second thing I'll say is, and this comes from personal experience. See, when I struggled with anxiety, panic attacks, derealization, depersonalization, it was a very hard time for me. So when I started making progress, when I started focusing on the right things and fully coming out of this, once I got to a place where I was pretty confident that I was on my way to recovery, or I was at least recovered, honestly, I didn't want anything to do with anxiety. I felt like anxiety had stripped so much of my life that I didn't want to have any intention of wanting to think about anxiety. Now, this is from somebody who now helps people overcome fully. Like, I help people on a full-time basis, and I can tell you, even personally, when I had recovered from anxiety, I had to step away. It consumed so much of my life, I didn't want to think about it. So, I focused on becoming, an engineer. I focused on working in tech, other things than anything besides anxiety. And so that's another reason why a lot of people aren't on top of a mountain right now explaining, hey, I recovered this way, this is what I did. It's because what I find is most people that do recover, anxiety just strips so much, they just don't want any effort to do with anxiety. They don't want to put any sort of effort or explanation on how they recovered. They just want to move on with their lives because it's just taken so much from them. So that's another reason. What happens is that what I tend to see is people end up getting better, anxiety becomes a past part of their life, and they just never revisit it. They don't have to, they're focused on other things in life, things that make them happy, their family, their friends, going out, enjoying life in general. So I know if you're really struggling with this, it can seem like there's the internet is a great place for you to get a skewed view, And what I will say is, even though the internet provides a lot of great information, there's a lot of opportunities for misinformation. The final thing I'll say is, you see on these forums a lot of times, there's a lot of people giving advice, and I understand their intentions. I understand, they want to help other people, but the problem is that if you haven't fully recovered, or you don't really specialize in this specific field, it's a very specialized field. Anxiety is very misunderstood. I see a lot of people who haven't recovered give other people advice, and that's actually very dangerous, I would say, because a lot of times, even though your intentions may be good, it's just a great opportunity to give misinformation, and I see it all the time, So if you're somebody who has been struggling with this, or somebody who gives advice but hasn't fully overcome, be very mindful of the information you get, because there's knowledge, but then there's also right knowledge. And in the internet, it's kind of hard to decipher. How do you identify what's right knowledge, what's not right knowledge? So if you really want to know more, if you want to focus on, okay, how do I fully overcome? How do I get out of this once and for all? Where can I go to a place that has right knowledge from people that have fully overcome? I'll put a link down below. This is a link to my private Facebook group. In this group, I'm posting exclusive content, podcasts, videos, articles, things that are specific to overcoming. This isn't a group for people that want to cope or manage anxiety. These are serious, dedicated individuals who want to overcome this and become fully free. So if that's you, hit that link down below. Now, when you do hit that link, it's going to ask you 3 questions. It's very important that you answer those 3 questions. Look, forums are a great place for information, but it's a great place for misinformation. We really are screening pretty hard because we want to maintain the integrity of the group. We have quite a few members in the group. Many of them have fully recovered or on their way of recovery, or have just get started. We want to make sure they have the right information to overcome. So if that's you, hit that link down below. Make sure to answer those 3 questions. And if you guys get in, you guys are going to have some great knowledge. Just joining that group means you're going to know more than majority of the people out there that know about anxiety. So if that's you, hit that link down below. I'll see you guys inside.